Let's get to the bottom of this one. Unspoken truths that I miss one. Tap into the minds of the people, rather acknowledge before I dismiss one. Atheists, Muslim, Christians, Buddhists, they all got usage. All got perspective, it's a collective. Get to the bottom where the truth is. With our hearts uncovered. Where you detox from all of the lies you smothered. What them tries could have killed you, but with faith you recovered. Yup. Peel off the makeup, we finna take off. Never said it'd be a cakewalk. Meditate till we charged up. Execute goes regardless. Decalcify my pineal. Breaking language barriers, we saw millennials. Planets passing age rotations, down me we owe. So down me we know. Sometimes we can be slow, that's why my ears open. Every drop you add could complete the ocean. Speak up, play your part too. Been vulnerable, it's so hard to.
So, hi everybody. I'm Kimberly with Unseen Twisted Truths. We are the People's Podcast. I have Henry beside me. We got DDH the Bubble. We got Johnathan Flavor Hype.
Get out of Dodge.
What's up?
I use a country Wild West reference.
We got Christy.
Hello.
And then we have Gilly.
Hello.
Glad to see you, Gilly.
Hey.
All right, everybody. So I'm gonna let Johnathan take the reins on this one here because this is his subject, and I will not do it no justice because I have a whole opinion. Johnathan, go ahead.
Oh, my goodness. Hello, everyone. Hello. Greetings to all. Warm wishes to everyone out there listening and viewing. I just had a question that I wanted to pose to everyone out there. General opinions. This is just kind of an experience that I've had in my life and what I've seen and been through myself. So here it is. Verbal versus violence. Is the mouth mightier than the muscle? What I mean is, what I've seen, heard, experienced is that many times, generally speaking, when women get into conflict, they tend to disclose a lot of things verbally and just say things to verbally attack the other person, tear them down, and tear everything up that way with what they say. When men tend to get into conflict, there's more of a physical threat to it. They won't say as much from a general sense, but they'll be more prone to get into a more physically violent type of conflict. So which one really hurts worse? Is it a worse thing, or is it just how you see it? I guess it's just the perspective, but it's just, why is that a thing, and which would you consider to be worse?
All right, we're going to keep it structured. So we're going to start from the end and work our way down, and then Johnathan gets to say his answer last and explain why, and then the next question. So we'll start with Henry.
Oh, I didn't want to go first, but I am. That's why I do this podcast. Well, I don't know. I do all the girl shit, so I'm gonna call you out on everything. I'm a bad candidate for that. No, it certainly isn't, because we just jump to conclusions on either side and go. Let's take men for example. We'll go right to violence. That's circumnavigating all thought behind the process. And why is it more common for men to do that? And why is it more common for women? I guess we could really just start this off with people talking in the comments about, body mass index and statistics like that. But it seems like it would be the most go-to response for either side. And sadly, I think that comes with a lot of not understanding how to process emotions or get along with each other well. And there's always room to improve on that, and I'll leave it at that for now.
Okay, and then for me, the reason why I have a bunch to say on the subject is because I don't see it as in a man versus woman. I am not saying that his self-study was wrong at all. I see it more as healed versus unhealed. I see it as in person versus person. I don't think it's a man or a woman thing. I promise you, I go to violence first And it's not on purpose. And it has nothing to do with the fact that I am a woman or anything. I'm careful with my words because they hurt and because I've been grown through so many things that people said that hurt from the beginning. So I take pride in the fact that I do not use my words in anger, let alone when I do not have self-control. So for me, that was my difference of the thing. I don't say you're wrong on it. Generally, men were always told to not speak on their feelings, so they had no choice but to camp it and go to war because that's where they were pushed to. And anytime they did speak on their feelings, they were shunned or belittled or ridiculed. So they didn't have a choice. So their way of control was violence because that's the only thing they had control over. So when I seen I'm not going to be too long of this, but when I've seen situations where it went the opposite way and it has affected the man, it's because the woman drove them that way. I'm just saying. So when they start doing it and they start using words, people become habit of their surroundings, even the toxic stuff. We tend to pick up the traits and become that we're familiar with, even when we don't appreciate it. And I don't want to go into too much, but that was the whole purpose that I thought was.
I was going to say, Jonathan, I forgot to answer the last part of your question, which I wanted to do very, very in brief and say I think psychological and emotional and verbal abuse has horrifying effects on the brain, and I'm almost championing it being worse than physical. That's it.
And that's what I was saying. We can't unhear things. We can't unhear things. We definitely can unsee things, and we can definitely overlook things, but we can't unhear stuff. So now that it's said, what are we supposed to do with it? And that's what I want to, it's not my show, so I'm not going to tell you what to do. I just wanted people to focus on the fact that it doesn't matter your origin of what you are. It's about who you are. So don't blame it on a sex. Blame it on you. That's my opinion.
Okay.
Christy, we will mute our mics in your turn.
Okay. I'll go back to what I knew growing up, and we always heard sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you. We found out quite early that that's not quite true. However, I've been in situations, and I will come just from this, shooting it straight from the hip, where I know I've said certain things that could anger somebody. And I know that I've been intimidated by physical force. So, yes, is my words going to hurt you? Yes. Is your physical violence going to hurt me? Yes. Is there a difference in what can be done? It depends on the person, on how you can heal from either way, whether it be my healing from being physically abused to my healing from being verbally abused. It's the way that you're going to be able to take it and use tactics to get over it, and be able to get through. Let me not say get over it, get through it, because it's something that you don't quite get over. But I understand that the physical pain is for a short amount of time. The psychological can do a lot of damage, and both of them together can just really almost try to break a person, and take them out. So we have to be careful with both. And there's a balance to everything. And once we learn that, then we can go ahead and take down a lot of this hurtfulness and turn it into, I don't care what you say, you're not going to take me out of my zone to say something to you, and which is going to belittle and damage you to make you want to go ahead and physically fight me. That's what I've learned as a woman. And thank you.
Wow. Okay. And I don't want
to. Got to ask Billy too. Remember.
Yeah. I just wanted to say just real quick, like it sounds like you've had experience from both sides of that, which is very interesting because not many have that much experience, dealing with this type of, abuse or violence, dealing with that type of abuse and violence. So it's wow.
Yes,
But yeah, go
thank
ahead.
you.
My turn? Okay.
Yes.
I will first say that verbal abuse, in my opinion, is violence. So I don't see it as verbal versus violence. I see it, they are both violence. And let me explain. I am talking about patterns of behavior, first of all. I'm not talking about a 1 or 2 off fight where stuff is said that you don't mean, or I'm talking about a pattern of belittling, of gaslighting, of stonewalling. The silent treatment is also a form of verbal abuse, humiliating people in public, threatening you. As a woman who's 5 foot tall, this is where I think the sex thing does come in. When I get really angry and I yell, I sound like I'm frantic. If anything, I sound like I'm being threatened. Because I have a naturally high-pitched voice, and that's just how it comes out. And I usually am frantic by that time. But if a man yells, first of all, if he's standing in front of me, he's not standing just in front of me, he's standing over me. And that's why, like, for instance, with children, you're supposed to get down on their level. You're supposed to talk to them, calmly and in an even keel voice, because it is incredibly physically intimidating to have somebody towering over you and yelling. And if that happens enough, it is very, it's easy to believe that there could be a pending physical threat as well. So sometimes a physical threat isn't, a physical action isn't needed. The physical threat is strong enough, particularly if there's been physical violence before. It has long lasting, other people on the panel have mentioned it already, so I won't go off, but it has long lasting effects psychologically, emotionally, socially. Your self-esteem, your ability to have and identify healthy relationships. And physical violence does too, but they both cause PTSD. They both affect your brain. So the only difference is that where men and women come into play is typically when men are physically violent with women, the physical harm can go to a lethal level.
Very true.
Oh, Jonathan, could you ask let Jusby know the answer first, or what the title is first, and then ask the question again, because he hadn't been here for that?
Absolutely. Welcome. First of all, glad you're here. The topic and question of this podcast is verbal versus violence. Is the mouth mightier than muscle? Meaning, what I've seen in my experience is that, generally speaking, when women get into conflict, they tend to go more towards what they say to attack a person. And when men, generally speaking, get into conflict, they tend to go more towards the physical violence side of it. That seems to be where they gear everything toward more so than the other. So the question is, which is worse?
All right. First and foremost, peace and love, family. Good to see you all.
Thank you.
Love thing.
I would say, from an honest point of view, they're both equally damaging, and they almost go hand in hand. Usually, if there's any level of verbal abuse, or any level of verbal contradictory, it usually leads to something physical down the line, or somewhat of that nature. It doesn't have to be sheer violence, but it can go from a shove to just anything. I don't even want to be specific about it. Just any level of physical harm, or even physical intimidation. So I feel like they both go hand in hand. it kind of derives from the same place as well. You know, there could be a lot of frustration within the situation. You know, communication may not be as strong. So, you know, sometimes people are looking for their partner to sometimes fill in blanks that, you know, they may not have made that person aware of, or they may be going through something that's personal, or they're internalizing it and they don't know how to seek external help. So, you know, it could be a buildup, or you know, or anything of that magnitude that would lead to, you know, verbal and physical, you know, altercation. So in my mind, I feel like they're both one and the same. You know, they're both equally impactful and you know, equally damaging.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you for your input, good sir. Was there someone else that came on a little bit late? Was that it?
Nope, that's it.
I'd like to actually add that we're going live on TikTok from a phone sitting next to me now, and I'd like to thank all our viewers on there. We're talking about verbal and emotional abuse between men, women, everybody really, and discussing it and trying to figure out what's worse. Hope you all can hear it, and thank you all for joining too.
Yes.
It's our mental health podcast.
Thank you so very much for everyone out there. Thank you. Appreciate it, and welcome. There was a point that was brought up, and oh goodness gracious, yeah, everyone had good points. I should have written it down, but mentioning the part about the physical violence, like something like that can kind of go away, but the verbal abuse, verbal, I guess, violence, verbal attacks, they can last much longer than the physical attack can. While in a way, that's, I guess it's true that the physical, I don't want to say it goes away, but I guess the evidence of that might go away physically, but then there's an emotional scar that comes along with that as well. So that can last, and that will stick with you too. Like, oh, this person has the potential. I guess everyone does, but actually, if they, you know, put their hands on someone, whether it's quote unquote light or, you know, a heavy or something like that, any type of physical intimidation can also have long-lasting traumatic results, and can also be somewhat. It's abuse as well. You're kind of doubling the abuse, I think, if you hit someone, because they have that in their mind. They remember that you have the capability of doing that to them, and they're gonna remember that, oh goodness, this physically hurt me as well. So it might be like a double.
Can I say that I don't know if hurt worse would be the thing. I think it's more on at a certain age, when did you become too old for it? When did it become that you no longer want to do that? When does it become I have to have more control over myself because when no one's around, I still have to be me? When does it become that point? Because I've been both. I've been through both. Will I do what I've been through? No, because it hurt when I went through it. Why would I want to do it? And that's how I feel. But that's the healed version of me. The unhealed version of me would relive it constantly and will not let it go, and will live in that thought and space of, without realizing that I needed grace one day. I'm not saying accept somebody, but the person that tried taking me out, I speak on it for education purposes, not because I'm living in it. I know I want nothing bad to happen to that individual, and I still have love, not for who they are per se, but what they offered and gave me at the time when it was good, because we remember that.
Okay.
The memory holds on to things a lot harder than our heart does. Our heart always wants to love. So that's just my opinion on it. I just think that after a point you just get tired and you just want it to quit. Either or. You just want people to treat you the way you want to be treated, the way you should treat them. So I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think that there's one worse than the other. I think at a certain time you got to grow up and just stop doing it, because you got to start looking at you and boom, doing better for you. I don't know. Go ahead.
Well, I certainly wouldn't want to commandeer anything with a question, but I think it bears asking is which. It's hard on the individual going through it, but physical violence I saw a lot of growing up, and that was hard to process. It's hard on children. Now, brain scar, I believe, just and one of the things is we can't see that. We need help to see that. Certain practitioners can help see that, but still, it's hard to see the brain. But I noticed that physical violence really takes a toll on children. They see that happen, and that is hard. Which one is worse on children here? Because an emotionally devastated parent, of course, can completely detach from their child's life and cause a lot of problems. But just seeing the brutality of hand-to-hand combat in your house between loved ones, people you love, I'll tell you from experience, it's really damaging. So I'm just throwing that out there to the wind and to the world. It's hard to live with.
May I say something on that, Henry?
It's Jonathan's podcast, but I would
or John. Jonathan.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. You
on that real quick?
Yes, you may absolutely speak on that.
Well, I've experienced both, and then I've also when in a narcissistic relationship, my ex-husband would often yell and be verbally abusive, and verbal abuse comes in many forms. And it was always what I would do to protect was, I would essentially upset him so that it came towards me, which isn't great for children to see, but it was a way to get him away, and so the kids could go. If he ever became physically intimidating, he knew that I would call the police or I would jump in front. In fact, a lot of people who abuse know that if they put their hands on you, there's a greater likelihood that they're going to get caught, especially with children who go to school or who go to camp or who, play with other kids in the neighborhood, especially, with partners who are going to be out in the community, which is why social isolation is often a precursor to any real violence and verbal abuses, or physical violence, because again, I do believe that verbal violence is it's violence, it's abuse. But I think that people know that they can get away with this silent treatment, which can do horrible things to a person's psyche and sense of self and sense of personal power. It can confuse a whole person's entire reality. There can be underhanded comments. Like I remember my dad, when I used to eat, I was bigger than my sister, and he would say in front of everybody, "Eat something, Gilly, you don't look good." That's verbal abuse. And you get enough of those and you end up with an eating disorder that you're then battling for a good lifetime. So I think that physical violence, there's always the immediate scare, right? It can go very south, no good. But the verbal violence, when it continues and when a person doesn't see a way out, particularly children, who these are the authority figures in their lives, and they are typically befriending the authority figures that are in their lives outside of the home as well. So where do you go to? Where is the voice? And I think that it should be under law considered quite similar to physical abuse.
Yeah.
Jonathan, can you ask S.Jeff Graham the question?
Jeff Grant, welcome. Hello, greetings to you. Question being for this particular podcast, I'll just condense it a bit. Verbal versus violence. Many times what I've seen in my life is that during conflict, women tend to gear more towards verbal attacks, disclosing things that are hurtful to the other person, whereas generally men would go more toward just physically violence. type of attacks, things like that. So the question is the mouth mightier than the muscle? Like, which is worse, if there is a worse to it?
That the muscle looks bad, but I think the words, because the words stick with you even after she done healed or whoever got physical healed, while you in jail or whatever you dealing with the charges or whatever. On top of that, with these words steady festering in your mind, what this person that you probably love said,
Hmm.
uh they usually got the last laugh. Usually in that situation, I seen the woman always like had the last laugh, like, yeah, you put your hands on me, but yeah, now look where you at now. Like, so I mean, the physical definitely looks bad and it's definitely not worth it on either sides. But regardless, if it never gets to physical, which with me, it's never gotten physical, because the words just stung so much that I literally just walked away like, damn, that person said that to me. Like,
Mm.
shit. Like, yeah, I've heard things that just struck me to complete silence, and I walked off like, you had to always say like that. That wasn't something you just said to just hurt me right now. Like, wow. So
Mm.
when words can mess with your ego and everything, versus that girl can heal up or that man can heal up, if it doesn't get to, you know, unaliving, which we all pray it
Right.
just doesn't happen, period.
Right.
But that person can heal up and hopefully move on, versus the other person got the words, the charges, he or she is never, well, at least for the next 7 years, they got the hardest life that it can be.
When I said seven, that's pretty precise.
Once you got a record like that, you got to go, well, at least in South Carolina, you got to go 7 years without doing anything else before a job will even look at you, because they're like, all right, you went 7 years without being violent.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone else want to add anything?
Well, I had an incident where for 3 days there was verbal abuse, there was refusal to leave the home, there was tons of intimidation, and there was multiple counts of SA. And all of this happened while my very young children were in the home, and one of my children was in a hospital. So after those 3 days, one of my littles had had enough and came into the room and poured orange juice on his dad, to which his dad then started to become physical. Long story shorter, I took out the phone to record him, told him I was recording him because I knew that his reputation mattered, and he proceeded to physically assault me in front of the children, among other things. So needless to say, the police were called and he did to go to jail. Did I want him to physically assault me? No. Did I want him to verbally, psychologically, emotionally abuse my children and I? Absolutely not. I wanted him to leave the home peacefully and come back when he could be peaceful and we could talk about things amicably. But he chose to stay. He chose to escalate. He chose the physical violence. I don't think it would have mattered a single thing I said or did. That was his mission, and that was terrifying. So it's not that anyone wishes that anyone went to jail, but I do remember after that I was able to put him on a restraining order. I helped him get the bail to get out of jail, but I also went down and had a restraining order, and that was for a long time the safest I felt, until he started breaking in and whatever. That's another story. But I was almost thankful that he finally put his hands on me, after all these years of threatening, because not because I wanted him to do it and to get him in trouble, but because nobody understands when you're saying, no, he's mean, he's intimidating, he's harassing, he's, belittling, he's, making it feel unsafe and uncomfortable for everybody. People don't listen to that, but people listen to he put his hands on me.
Well, it's evidence. We get evidence.
People don't really listen to it because they see that every time you have something to say about it, you're going back to it. So they always think it must be another side to the story.
Could you repeat that?
I said most of the time, because it happened with me when I constantly had something to say about my ex-wife. In fact, my mom actually came out of her mouth and said, she said, I don't want to hear anymore. When you're done, when you're tired, you just leave or whatever. And people get tired of listening because you complaining, but you're going back to it. So in their head, in their little group circle, they like, yeah, it must be something. It must be another side to the story, because if it's so bad, why does she or he keep going back?
Right.
Oh, I understand that, but in my circumstance, I was leaving. That's why he was there in my house uninvited for 3 days.
But you said you went through it for
no,
years.
and when I called my mom who owned the house, she said, it's not my business, Gilly. You work it out. So I was calling out for help. I was trying to avoid having to call the police, because I thought that would also be scary for the children. But so I do know your situation, because I've also been in situations where people have questioned why I'm still there. But with him, the abuse got worse and escalated as I left, and has continued and has never stopped in one form or another.
So I have a question, not to you, Gilly. I want to ask this to Johnathan, and then everybody. I don't want to ask it to one person, because I'm not growing through it at the moment, but I need to ask this just to find out what people's answer is. When we look at the children and we think that we're doing what's best for the children by protecting the children from somebody who hurt us, not touch the children, but they hurt us. How is that protecting the children when you're taking away someone that the children loves? Who are they? How are you protecting the children from you? We worry about doing what's right for the children when we can't even do what's right for ourselves. There was a time that you were able to go before it got to that point. It had to have been, or your mom. This is just my thought, though, because I didn't live in your shoes, so I can't tell you that you're wrong. I'm saying, though, you said it's been going on for years before that 3-day thing. So there's a reason. I mean, it wasn't, unless it was always good until it just wasn't. I've been through situations like that too. So, I mean, eventually we just have to start realizing we're either going to stay in the moment, live in the moment, relive the moment every day of our life, or we're going to change the moment because we're changing us. There's a lesson learned somewhere, and it's crappy, and it seems cold and heartless, but there is a lesson that has to be learned. Like, I don't know. That's just my.
I left in the middle of the night to homelessness, and I felt better though. Like after I went through the whole turmoil of what the hell did I just really on impulse just say fuck it, it's over, and walk out knowing I don't have nowhere to go. And once I dealt with that mind frame, I was like, I started thinking about everything else or whatever, and within a month or so I was back, having a place, because I had a job. I was just, now I'm living out my car, but I did not care. It had to stop. It had to end.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Hindsight's 20.
Well, first of all, to be clear, I had already filed for divorce. He was already out of the house. This was his attempt to try to get back in. He had to come over because I had a kid in the hospital that I couldn't take my littles with me to go visit. As far as my mom saying that she also, when he went to jail after putting his hands on me, said, my mom, who I thought was a feminist, said, I didn't even see you give him a lot of affection, Gilly. And how many times have you cooked? So I mean, no, that this was not a situation of I kept going back. I kept going to counselors. I did take my marriage vows very seriously. I always found ways to pull my kids out of the situation. And I left. I did what I was supposed to do. You have to understand there was also an economic factor. I didn't have access to the bank accounts. I was a stay-at-home mom and I had 3 kids with, there are things that can be going on. It's not always just somebody going back. There are reasons why people don't leave, and the violence has gotten worse, and it's led to parental alienation, which is its own form of violence against kids, and ex-partners. So I never tried to take the kids. And I think you said something about why would you want to take the kids and hurt them from the other
No,
parent if they
no, I
only
did
hurt
not.
you?
I did not. And I said I wasn't directing that towards you at all. I never once talked to you about you to that. I did not say that. I said, I wonder why, with a question. I wonder why when people stop someone from seeing the children because they're hurt by that person, they don't realize that that's hurting the kid too. I'm not talking about your situation at all. I did say that I can't speak on your situation because I've never been through your shoes. I'm telling you on a personal thing that I'm witnessing firsthand that has nothing to do with you, about my life with my grandchildren. And I promise you, on everything I love, I will never tell you what you should have done or could have done in your life. It's a lesson that you have to learn. I promise you.
No, I hear you. And I also know what it's like to be alienated from somebody because they think that you hurt them. And so now they take the kids. So
it has nothing to do with me or my grandchildren. And I get it. And I was just asking a question in general about why does a parent try to think taking the kids because that parent hurt them, that's going to help the children, because who's going to stop you from hurting the children?
well, I think they do it for power and control.
Well, I can let you know what happened in the results of mine because my kids soon to be 19 and 20, my oldest 2. When I was married, she told a bunch of lies to them about me in my face, so I can only imagine what she said when, the times when I had no contact because I absolutely didn't know no address, no phone number, no nothing. I just guessed that she was in New York because that's where she's from. When I finally talked to my kids after 9 years, 2 years ago, and they came down to the Carolinas, yeah, they let me know about a whole bunch of lies and stuff, and we worked all through it, talked to them. They talked to my mama. My mama and dad confirmed that certain things were lies, and you know, they forgave me. Well, there wasn't no need to forgive me, but still wanted it because they still, so long that was festering in their heart that even though we're saying that didn't happen, they still kind of believe in it. So I still ask for their forgiveness. They ask me for their forgiveness for believing it. And now they don't, and now they don't have no interaction with me or their mom. Like I was forgiven, but I've been out of their life for so long that it's like, what? And they're so mad at their mom that they don't talk to her either. So, and I was like, they're gonna hate you when they find the truth. I didn't add me to the equation. I thought that was gonna, make us wanna, make them wanna know what they missed or whatever. But nah, they don't talk to neither one of us. They talk to our family, my mama and my cousins and uncles. Well, not my uncles, my brothers, their uncles. They talk to them all the time. They're friends with them on social media, but me and their mom, nope.
And that's what I was saying. Who's going to protect the children from the one that they're trying to protect them from? That's what I was trying to say. Because at the end of the day, if you're in an unhealed situation, you got to look at you and evaluate you, because you may be the problem. But Jonathan, I do want you to take over, though. Please, I apologize.
No, that's fine. Yeah, this now what he was just talking about is a really, really tough situation. And so I just pray for healing from all sides, and I understand they may be a little far gone at this moment as far as wanting any type of connection, but I still pray peace for them in whatever they choose to do and how they choose to handle the situation. But as far as you mentioned the protection, like who's protecting them, I, I think they're trying to figure out what to do in that situation, and it's tough because if they've never been there before, they don't know how to deal with it. Like I wouldn't know how to deal with it. I would just kind of, I guess, instinctually think, okay, I need to protect them, but what's the best way to protect them if I've never had experience with dealing with it before? I don't want them to hurt. And what I'm thinking, or what he or she may be thinking, is the immediate violence or the more severe threat is the other person. And so maybe if I keep them from that person, I'll be protecting them from that immediate threat. But I guess it's the lesser of two evils, if you will, because you don't really know how that will affect them. They'll be unable to build a relationship, excuse me, a relationship with the other person, with the other parent, or continue to build one or keep whatever they had. So that dynamic between that child or those children and the other parent, that could be fractured or shattered at that point, depending on the duration of the separation. That's rough right there. I wanted to touch on something like another part of what we're kind of discussing, and it's really just and let's say for this particular moment, let's just eliminate any children from it, but just dealing with the two individuals. So I'm thinking that because of how we're conditioned, we grow up thinking a lot of times what I've heard and seen experiences that women are encouraged to speak out their mind, speak out, talk it out, talk it out, talk it out. Whereas men aren't encouraged to, because it appears as if no one really cares when they speak as much as they do care about the women when they articulate whatever issues. So maybe because they're conditioned to talk as much, that they'll go on and verbalize any and everything and weaponize it, as a form of attack, because they may not have the capability to physically fight another person, especially not another man. But even if they could fight another woman, they'll just go attack verbally. Men may not want to do the verbal attack thing because they've been conditioned to, hey, if you have a problem, deal with it here and now, and let's get it out. Like, who's going to be the bigger, better person, or who can beat who up, or whatever the case may be. So maybe because of some of that social conditioning, maybe that has geared us towards reacting and behaving certain ways in issues of conflict. You think that could be a thing?
Henry.
So I open up Facebook, and what do I see? I see people fighting about men and women. I see people fighting about trans people. I don't know if you guys noticed this by looking at me, but I don't give two shits about gender roles, and I find them to be quite silly and to fight about even. And people say, we need to follow certain stereotypes and gender roles. And I feel like we've gotten far enough technologically and with understanding of modern medicine and actually how neuroscience and how brains work, that this shouldn't be an issue. But I think overall, and I'm going to say it, social media isn't helping it. Communication kind of took a back seat. I think the way we're communicating isn't really on par anymore. And I see these podcasts, these other podcasts, where men are going after females like sex workers and stuff like that. There's this big fight going on, and it's insane to me. It's really insane to me. But I think a lot of these problems with these abuse situations between men and women arise because they're just not talking. I mean, this is probably obviously going to happen in relationships, and I think people get into relationships frivolously. I know I have before, and it takes commitment. It's hard to work with other humans together. So, yeah, I was going to say I don't like the way we approach it. I think with communication we can solve a lot of these issues, but men are geared to not talk about it. Men really are. We're talking about trying to fight gorillas. That's just when, in terms of weakness, I look at these men and they're saying you're just a pussy. You'd run screaming. Oh yeah, when you watch a gorilla dismember somebody, 15 people before it gets winded. Yeah, I think it's a perfectly valid response to run. There's too many guys out there thinking they can beat the gorillas. I'm sorry, and whether they do or not, it's stupid. Let's work on science.
Gotcha.
And I agree with Henry on the whole gender thing. I kind of think it's about control, and it's a different kind of aspect of control. I'm talking more self-control. I don't think it's a control between men and women with muscle and whatnot. Thank you for the information insight of the topic. Blessings. Oh, peace and love, sister. Peace and love. She left. Christy had to go. But I do believe that I don't think it is a gender thing, honestly. I think it's a healed thing. And I think it's I've never hurt no one with my words. I promise you, I have threatened, and I had slapped and hit in many different people. I'm more of a my peace is important, and I will be quiet for so long, and then I'm just gonna snap. And it's not because I have a demon that I'm trying to take care of and maintain. So at the end of the day, I don't think it's a man and a woman thing. I think it's accountability thing and a control thing. I honestly think that's all it is. And to have self-control is a gift. It's the most powerful gift in the world. And if someone can slap you across your face and you stand there and hold your composure, that's power.
Ooh.
That's power. And I've had that happen to me. I've had that happen to me from people with dementia, my grandchildren, my own child. And I've had it happen to me from my parents to someone that I was intimate and in love with, and that I believed that was supposed to be to protect me. So the power and control of self is more important than anything. Hurt people, and that's really true. Whether we're going to allow it to affect us forever or not is on us. There's a lesson. Everything happens for a reason, even the shitty stuff, even the stuff we can't explain. We signed up for this. I just think before you speak and before you react. Just think. That's just all I have to say on it. Gilly, go ahead.
Can you clarify your question as far as, are you talking about man on man violence and woman on woman, like violent or verbal abuse, that tends to be the trend, or are you talking male and female?
I see what you're talking to me. Not a man on man and woman on woman violence. It's just a tendency to be how they behave during conflict, whether it be two same sex or gender or opposite gender or whatever. So it can be either one, but the tendency, what I've experienced, just on me. What would a man be more likely to do, and what would a woman be more likely to do? And that's not just speaking in general, off of my own experience.
Okay. Well, I mean, I tend to be in line with gender is should not be so much, at least neurologically and biologically. I don't think it's a factor. It has been socially. throughout history. I mean, you look at movies like The Fight Club, that's a really popular movie about, men using violence to sort of heal and overcome. Um, you think about you think about or movies where there's conflict between women, and women are using their wit and their words and their social power or sexual, and those are just stereotypes that we tend to imitate until we know better throughout history, and
Mhm.
every generation gets more progressive. um I know that, when I was a kid, I had a favorite record called Free to Be You and Me. And on there were all sorts of poems and short stories and songs. And William had a doll, and it was all right to cry. And, and girls don't just like to, cook and clean. And so, we've been working on gender roles for a long time, as far as how through the patriarchy we sort of mischaracterize people and put bigger differences between us than there probably are. So no, I don't see. I guess I see a trend towards. Well, I see two trends happening simultaneously. On one hand, I see a trend towards getting away from this sort of alpha male, sort of uh, model, and men being welcome to talk about feelings and encouraged to talk about feelings, and women finding that they're not always so great at talking about feelings, and that they have communication things to learn as well. And me personally, I've never been a physically violent person. That just wasn't me. But I don't think any abuse is okay abuse, um, to be clear. and
Mhm.
and I do think that it's getting better. I do think that we're changing our mind. At the same time, you also look at social media and you see people being really nasty to each other in comment sections, on various subjects. I know that I've gotten into Facebook fights with strangers. It's really easy. They
Oh,
set those
goodness.
algorithms to piss you off, and then they know what is going to spin your wheels. They know what's going to get people upset and arguing, and we take it like bait. I pretty much don't go on Facebook at all anymore. And that's part of the reason, is because people are nasty. You see a lot of these like reaction videos where people are just tearing one another down. Humiliation, cancel culture. I mean, you think
Mhm.
about verbal abuse. One form of verbal abuse is the silent treatment, social
Mhm.
isolation, gaslighting, and people are canceling people without even knowing the whole story, and without even
Right.
understanding the long-term effects, or considering the effects of continuing to have conversations with people rather than canceling them. um I don't know, that's my take.
Perfectly valid take. I understand. Anyone else want to add anything?
That's Jeff Graham.
All y'all from the Midwest or something?
I'm not.
I'm
I was
Midwest.
born in the Midwest.
Not
Oh,
I
us.
mean, I was born on the West Coast, but I live in the dirty South now.
oh, I don't know. Maybe it's a Carolina thing then, or whatever. Men talk it out here, or whatever. Maybe because they real serious with them CDV charges or whatever. You go down real bad down here. So we go. What I tend to see often, the man pull the girl to the side, the girl get real loud, then the man match her energy, and then she think because everybody outside is not gonna go that far, then she get to poking him in the head or getting all up in his face like she can really come back with him. Why would you got with this man? I hopefully think that you got with this man because you felt like he could protect you. Why are you challenging him? And what you felt like the protection would come from. If you feel like you can beat him, why are you with him? But like I used to think that all the time or whatever. Like when a girl would buck up to me or whatever, I'm like, do you want to fight? Do you think you can beat me? Why are we talking? Or whatever. If you feel like you must act like this towards me, at least in a physical manner or whatever, I'm real mental. We can talk all day. We don't even have to yell or whatever, we don't even have to cuss. Like soon as I hear cuss words or whatever, I'm already like, whoa, 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 we ain't gotta talk like that. Come on now, this between me and you. Ain't nobody yelling at that, whatever. But I noticed that with women that I have dealt with or whatever, or that I have seen my friends deal with, that calm shit almost look like you're wrong in whatever it is. They got the upper hand or something of that nature. Or they think because his friends out here, we're not gonna let it go that far, which it never has, but if it did, we're gonna pull you away from it. We're not gonna let it go that far or whatever. They immediately get aggressive.
Mm.
And then of course, as a man, most men aren't gonna walk away like me or whatever, but that's because I boxed for 10 years. And so I'm probably shaking a little bit because my instinct is to get out of the way of whatever you about to do, and I'm like, let me get away before I react or whatever, and I walk away and I just walk away or whatever,
Yeah.
But it's hard a lot because in my head I'm like, boy, she gonna do this shit again because you walked away or whatever. And then, but in
Yeah.
my head, I guess it's the older me. It's over. It's over. Like
Yeah.
it's over. Soon as we, I don't care how long we've been together. Soon as we get to that point, because I feel like you're gonna do it again because you took my walk away as I'm not gonna do nothing, and you're right. That don't mean that I won't do nothing to your brother, your cousin, your dad. Like I'm that guy. I take it out on your family. I take it out on the
Oh
closest man
man.
to you. Like I know how far that I'm gonna go to prove to you leave me alone. And so I just walk away because it's gonna go entirely too far. You got to know yourself or whatever. And I know that I'm not gonna put my hands on her, but I know what I'm gonna
Mm.
do. So
Way to be accountable.
I want to hear what Jewsby has to say.
Why would you say he gonna act funny? Because I'm
I don't know. Hold on. Yeah. It, I mean, it's like I said, it's a mixed bag, but the altercations and things of that nature. Like I said, it's usually a build up. The emotions are flaring. Tempers are raging, and people don't always exercise their best judgment. Sometimes when the communication isn't strong, like we mentioned before, um, people tend to they try to force solutions, in these situations. You know, when you feel like things are, not in your control, and you feel like you're not being heard, or, people are, talking down on you, or they're not, giving you the level of respect that you feel you deserve. There's a lot of factors that, come into play, when you're dealing, especially with matters of the heart, because, these people sometimes they disclose secrets, um, and information that's utilized against them later on down the line, which is definitely unfair. And, it may come to a point where they feel they don't have any more resolve, to deal with the matter civilly, so, they may turn to verbal, or the physical abuse. Neither one is acceptable, but in a way I can kind of understand how those situations get to that point. But no matter how you slice it, communication is the key. Whether these people are, putting their hands on you, or, they're just demeaning you in a way, that you feel is intolerable. You have to convey these things. You have to let the person know, what you're willing to tolerate, and what's crossing the line, and you have to be able to enforce that as well. Sometimes people attack weakness, or when they feel there's weakness within the situation, they'll exploit it, for their benefit. Not necessarily saying it'll make things better, but sometimes it makes that person feel more at ease. It's I kind of look at it as leveraging a power in a sense. There's definitely a lot of that going on in relationships these days. People are pretty much just leveraging whatever power they have in a situation to get what they want. Some people feel like they don't have anywhere to turn, or they don't have anyone that'll be able to pull them out of the situation if they can't get themselves out of the situation, so they feel stuck. And they tend to deal with things that normally, if they had a better understanding of who they were, or who they were dealing with, quote unquote, they would be able to make a more sound and a more just decision, as far as how they go about dealing with things. But if you don't have that type of support, if you feel like you're alone, and this person that you're dealing with, or that the person that you're having problems with, is literally the only person you have, I can understand it, being kind of tough for that person to pull away or find a way out of that situation. So, like I said, every situation is different, but, in my experience, I've noticed that, these outcomes are normally the same. Someone either gets hurt physically or verbally. And a lot of times these people aren't able to move forward in life, in a sense, because this thing might be haunting them, or it may be holding them back from trusting, or giving themselves to someone else later on down the line. So it's very important for you to just control yourself, like Miss Kim said. It definitely takes a powerful person to know their strength and not exercise that strength when they're dealing with someone who may be weak-minded, or they don't have the necessary skill set to convey themselves in a more civil way, so they have to resort to that level of violence. um it's really on that person to set those boundaries, and to really enforce the boundaries. If you don't follow through with what you're saying to people, if you allow someone to take advantage of you or do something you don't like you can't expect for them to treat you any other way, if you're co-signing on it. So you have to be aware of these situations. Do a lot more vetting with the people that you deal with. And just don't jump into situations before you really know the person that you're getting involved with.
Very good point, Jisby. Very good point. I wanted to actually, it's making me confirm something here.
There's some TikTok comments that he wants to get to, and then we have a comment he has to read real quick.
I do have a comment here. I was actually jump on here and say, if you're checking us out here, we're just our live Unseen Twisted Truth podcast. We talk about mental health and largely mental health nowadays. And we're discussing verbal versus emotional abuse, predominantly amongst men and women, and which one is worse. And that's what we're exploring. So shout out to everybody liking it. Helix, all of y'all. I appreciate you jumping on here and being part of the discussion. And
he has a comment real quick.
And I'm going to read this comment on here. So, as mental elevation is the best demonstration from Cool Vibes introduces. He also says, this was, nowadays I'm noticing some kids feel they have to be adults, and sadly to say most adults want to be kids. We must change the narrative and change the dynamic of family. Being accountable in life must be our focal point without post-traumatic stress.
True.
So, thank you, everybody.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Hey, what was you about to say though, Henry?
What was I about to say?
No, you said something about.
I was actually just thanking our TikTok viewers. I got the phone next to here, and I'm trying to manage both of them like a professional. And,
I thought there was a question from TikTok.
Oh, because
No,
I thought you had said I gotta confirm something or something after Juicy said what he said. I thought that's what you was about to say something. different.
No, TikTok made him confirm who we were, that we weren't a robot.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's pictures of guitars and chairs asking me which ones had 4 legs. Yeah, I'm not a robot.
They want to make sure that we are not using this for scam purposes.
We ain't scamming you.
Right.
Go ahead, Jonathan. What's your last thing?
I wanted to bring something back. It was something that is it Jill? I'm sorry. Gilly. Okay. Gilly mentioned that she's like what 5 feet tall or something like that. So that doesn't necessarily come with a lot of physical intimidation. But an
What's he
interesting
trying to
point
say?
that what I'm saying, you got a swole, super strong personality, so that's gonna beat people down.
I'm just kidding.
Now, a lot of time now, okay, so your stature isn't of an intimidating nature. I'm like 6'6", and whatever. So, like, I understand that can be somewhat intimidating in a way. To certain people, it could be. I don't use that at all. I don't necessarily try to match energy. Like if my lady was like yelling, screaming at me, which is sometimes it happens, the yelling, screaming, cursing, and all that. I'm like, am I supposed to match that? Because I can't get I don't do the yelling and screaming thing. Because I know if I actually raise my voice, like really raise my voice, it's going to resonate in a different way. And I don't like that, because then I feel like I'm losing control if I get to a certain point and I break that threshold that I have. And as far as the violence thing, that's not really my thing. I mean, I reserve the violence for like protection and a little bit of like discipline, but not like it's just part of the reprimand if I decide to do that. So I mean, I've been like hit before. The girls I was with or whatever, sometimes it's kind of I'm not saying I've just been so abused, but I mean, it's happened before, and I didn't retaliate. I didn't do anything. It's like, I understand that they might feel like they can do it again, to the other gentleman's point. They feel like they can do it again if you just walk away from it or let it go. I'm like, wait a minute, how do I convey, like, that's not cool, because I can't go back at them in that same way, because then I'd be the bad guy, I'd be the victim, I'd be in jail or prison or whatever the case may be, and then they would quote unquote win in that moment. So I guess my main question I want to ask everyone here, if they would respond to it, in those moments, do you think that if you match the energy just to the point that they get to understand that it can go to a different level, do you think that's beneficial, or did you try to maintain the self-control that you had the entire time?
One more time at the end. I have ADHD, and I'm in the TikTok I looked over.
You got TikTok DHD.
One of our guests sent us a penis outline on it, and I thought it was really funny. It really distracted me from the end of your show.
Great.
No, it was say you're in a conflict with your significant other. Do you think that it would be better to match the energy they have, just so they can kind of understand that you're willing to go there, or do you think it's better to maintain self-control while at the same time risking the fact that they'll do it again, thinking that they can just get away with it?
A lot of variables to that situation. It depends. I guess it depends on who you're dealing with, right? Matching the energy could be a dangerous thing. And I don't know, if you're 5'5", I take some self-defense classes, by the way. That's going to help out a lot. Specifically Krav, that will help a lot. It's really, really nasty. But matching energy, there's a point in time where I used to fight with people all the time, and I just started really bleeding honesty. I just say exactly how I feel when I'm in a conflict or anything like that. Actually, just all the time if I can. And one, really scares some people, and two, it's really relieving to some people. So, I feel statements are important. They are, and sometimes they can lead to a bunch of stuff. But like I said, it's who you're dealing with. just read that situation really well. Don't match someone's energy and accidentally antagonize them by that, or they might come off as mocking you. Then you can maybe end up in a physical altercation where you're going to want to know something to defend yourself. It's a good question, but I think it's got a lot of answers to it. I want to hear what everybody else thinks.
And for me personally, I could not match somebody else's energy. It took me a long time to get inner peace. It took me a long time to learn to love myself. It took me a long time to have self-control. I stop myself before it gets to that point because the control part is important to me. To match someone's energy is allowing them to win. To give somebody else control over what you can control yourself is a way of giving in, is a way of letting them win. So to have like that control, not allowing them to affect you can be scary. And it also can be rewarding because nobody wants to fight someone that's not fighting back. After a while, they end up having to look at themselves and stop. And it all depends on the situation. I've had so many things that I had to grow from because I kept on having insanity moments. And I had to learn the lesson that I had to learn. So repeating cycles just by different faces. So I know why women do it. They feel entitled and suppressed. I know why women do it, but I will never do it because having that self-control is more powerful than meeting them where they don't even want to be. That's just my opinion. Jonathan, what is your opinion on that? And then we're going to go to Gilly.
Oh man, I more or less feel the same way you feel about it, or think the same way you think about it, because as I grew and became a little bit more mature about certain things, I chose to not let certain things influence me. And I kind of tell myself, I don't want to match someone else's energy because I come with my own. I mean, like, I'm taking on their identity and they are like, I'm mirroring them. Like, no, I have my own identity. I have my own energy. So I don't want to match their energy. Although sometimes it can be difficult because you want them to understand, like, hey, you can't just do this. You're not going to come at me like this. Sometimes that is what comes out. And so, then I have to kind of reel it in a little bit. I don't get to the, now if someone's screaming and yelling, I don't get to that level. I just shut it down. And I've done that before where I just said, okay. And I walked away. And let me tell you, just a real sidebar with that. So screaming, yelling, I said, are you really screaming at me right now? And they're like, yes, I'm screaming. I just said, okay. And I just walked out. Left them there to scream to themselves. And later on, they calmed the F down and realized, okay, look. And then it became a more civilized conversation. I'm like, ooh, that's powerful. So I kind of learned that, sometimes not matching their energy is actually more powerful than matching it. But sometimes there are some who will, look, you're not going to treat me. This is how it feels. When someone does this, do you like that feeling? So that's kind of where that comes from as well. And that can be effective only if that person realizes that, damn, but it's going to take them self-reflecting, and you can't force them to self-reflect. So you're just taking that risk. It's all about, well, am I going to give them or am I going to give them me? If I give them, then I don't have an identity. Bars.
So I want DDH to say something before he has to go back to work. But since I've been married, I promise you, I will meet you there if we have to. I will hold it. I will dig the hole, and we both are going in. I'm just letting you know that at this present moment, I will meet you there. As long as it took me to maintain my peace, I promise you, I will match your energy if you want me to, but I don't think you want me to. But go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Mm-hmm.
We got you, dude.
Okay, yeah. What am I speaking on the subject tonight?
Just whatever about matching energy. Do you believe that you've seen both sides? You've seen a woman do it to you.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's match energy is a real thing, and it definitely. I think that you gotta have an understanding of each other and to know how far that things is going to go, especially if it's negative energy that's being matched. So that one won't outdo something major, like say the wrong things, or they say things that you really don't necessarily mean at the moment, but you're just saying it at the spur of the moment. So yeah, I think that that's something that you definitely got to have communication on when it comes to understanding each other, because that match energy is definitely is a true thing, and I definitely am a person that will match energy too.
You don't want to have that control of I'm teaching him different ways of standing inside his trigger moment and not allowing them to affect him. So I'm trying, and I don't want to say teach because that doesn't sound right. I'm trying to show him. I'm trying to show him another tactic by staying in triggers and allowing them not to have power.
Mm. Mm.
Because sometimes when you're in those relationships and the narcissistic and whatnot, they tend to be, like I said earlier, become yours, and you become that you know. And when you get treated good, you're so accustomed to bad behavior that you tend to exude that over triggers that we allowed ourselves to have. It's terrible when you come from a toxic situation for the next individual. But I apologize, DDH. I just wanted to mention that before you had to go back. I wanted to mention sometimes because you're learning that to live in your triggers.
Hmm. Yeah, I went through a lot in my last relationship, so just learning different ways and getting that and finding a partner where you can learn that stuff with and put it into action is a beautiful thing.
Okay. Okay. Love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
What's your positive insight, husband, before you have to go back?
To keep pushing, keep thriving, keep hope alive.
I like that.
All righty.
Keep hope alive.
Thank you, husband.
All right. Much love, guys.
Much love.
Danny Holmes.
All right, Gilly, your turn.
As far as matching energy, this is an area of conflict for me, and I'll try to be clear. When you're in a narcissistic relationship or narcissistic dynamics or systems, I think that the bigger component is power. Meaning when one person has more power, setting a boundary isn't going to make much of a difference. Hold on one second.
So I do want to say real quick what she said. Hold on for a second. I want to say this is everybody's opinion. That's all it is. Nobody's wrong and nobody's right in this. This is just a different way to see and approach things.
Hey, sorry about that. Yeah, no, I'm not saying anybody is right or wrong. And
no, I wasn't saying that's about you. I was letting them know at the beginning. Just because.
but so boundaries don't matter. You can set boundaries all day long, and they use that as a next move in a game. You match their energy, that amps them up. You don't match their energy, then they're poking at you and trying to cause more chaos to get you amped up. So as far as putting up healthy boundaries, unless you have a family to go to, a community to go to, a safe house to go to, and you have a way of moving forward, and they're not, I think maybe Henry mentioned, or no, Jewsby mentioned, the only person in your life. I think those things play a big role. I wish I was able to match energy sometimes, and it's not just because I'm short. Let me be clear, it's not just because I'm short. I don't like anger. I don't like the way it feels in my body. I don't like the way it sounds coming out. I don't like the way it looks coming out of anybody. I have a real aversion to anger, and at the same time, there are times that I think my anger was warranted, and I wish I could have shown up with it. And it's hard for me to explain how I feel, but when you're in narcissistic dynamics, you can feel very powerless, not just and not power over other people, power over your own life. And that feeling, that's one of the effects of long-term verbal and emotional abuse and psychological abuse, is a feeling of hopelessness, of powerlessness. There have been times that I've tried to match energy, and it just escalates things. They talk about a method called gray rocking when you start going down the narcissistic, rabbit hole. And gray rocking is essentially making yourself as boring as a gray rock, not giving really any emotional reaction whatsoever, and then escalate.
Wow.
I think that police and people who work in hospitals could learn a lot about de-escalating by not matching the energy sometimes. I think that could cause things to go a lot better. So I guess my conflict comes in times where, even now, there are things that I want to fight for, I need to fight for. And it's terrifying for me. If I were to be honest, it's, because I know the consequences of standing up for yourself against people who don't care about your boundaries are strong and they're long lasting. So I think it has more to do with power dynamics than it has to do with setting boundaries, or walking away or matching.
That's some good points.
S. Jeff
Wow.
Graham.
Well, y'all gonna think I'm a bad guy now.
Nah. Nope.
I'm the master debater. I love whatever it is to talk about it. I love to. After about 3 or 4 times of trying to de-escalate, that you're not trying to keep us intellectual, now you want to spurt off cuss words and yell and stuff. I know how to match. I have mastered reflecting that energy without that energy taking over me. And I tell people to leave me alone. They don't know what they get into, because I can match your energy. It very seldom happens, because I guess my facial expressions before I get to this point, people realize they might be going a little too far or whatever. But if it ever get to that point, I will drive you nuts about everything I said. You will have nothing else to say to me, and I will immediately turn back around and continue on with my happy day. And that's probably what scares them the most. Like my last boss, like, she gave me hell, and hey, can I have a meeting with you? All calm, took her down there, gave her the same energy she gave me in front of everybody. or whatever, because I made it private, I didn't embarrass her or whatever, and then I went immediately upstairs and went back to work or whatever, and act like this conversation didn't happen. That lady was gray head by the time I left. She was trying to get rid of me so bad, or whatever, but I don't play that game or whatever because I find more pride in I walked away. I'm like, they don't really know what they're getting into or whatever. Like, I'm not going to touch you and I'm going to drive you crazy just because I match your energy. Like, so I take more pride in walking away. So that's why I walk away. I'll give it to you if you really want it. And it won't bother me. Like, it won't engulf me. I won't lose no sleep about it. I won't care how you felt about anything I just said. Like, I'm just a little different with that, I guess.
Jewsby?
Positive advice.
No, match energies. Do you match energies or do you not let them get you to that?
I mean, with me, I'm very dismissive, when I want to be. So if I feel like you're being disrespectful in any way, you gotta go. Like I told, my peace is what I protect. I don't care. I don't manage emotions or feelings of anybody else. I'm responsible for protecting my peace. If you can't abide by what I have going on, if you can't treat me respect, or in anything out of what you should be doing for someone who's giving you nothing but the utmost respect, or catering to you, or doing whatever it is that whatever you ask them, pretty much, like I expect the same. Like, so no, I don't match energy. I just exit people out of my life.
Feel that. And I want to say something, Jonathan, before you get back to it. The reason why it's so important to contain that self-control and to not match the energy this is just my opinion, is because when you work so hard to be able to bottle it, you're afraid once you release it that you're not going to be able to stop it. I promise you. I promise you.
Yeah, that's a very good point, and that kind of is it's kind of getting to that. So get out of my head. But no, not, and there are times that we contain that. Now, is that I don't want to say destructive, but I mean, kind of, it lend to being somewhat destructive or debilitating behavior just because you're bottling so much in and you don't. I guess it depends on if you have an outlet. If you have a healthy outlet, go with that. Do your thing. Do it, please. Even if you don't have one, create one for yourself that's healthy and productive and constructive in some way that brings you peace. But some people that might not have that outlet, what other things can you do? Because holding it in. So I guess if you just let the other person go, like you said, sometimes you just have to let that person go. Like, we'll holler at you. Throw them through. Throw them 2 fingers and let them go. Peace. At times there are, when you're in relationships, sometimes things develop where you will overlook certain things for a certain amount of time. And then when it comes to a head, you're like, man, these flags showed themselves time and time again. I kind of ignored them because they could have been one-offs. It could have been, okay, that was just a little bit of that. You're dismissing things, forgiving things, giving grace here and there. At that time, when they continue to push, do you think if you hold it in, that it's really going to hurt you more than at least letting them know along the way, hey, this is an issue. This is really an issue. And then having to address it each time. I would say address it each time, but I'm just, I want to hear what everyone else thinks about it.
What do you think, Henry?
I
Well, I'm sorry. Hold on real quick. Before you answer, the reason why I'm saying address it each time is because sometimes it can appear as if you're picking at them and nagging them about small things. That's kind of the defense that I've heard before. So that's why I put that in there. Because sometimes they'll say, oh, you're picking on me. These little things don't matter as much. So that's why I wanted to say that.
Okay, so we have these abuse situations, right, where it goes verbal, it goes physical and stuff, and I think it's trying to never get to that point, right? Now, roll one more time with the main point, because you threw me at the end there about picking. Was it about picking? I may have missed that.
No, not that it was about picking, just that the other person might say something to that effect. Like, nothing I ever do is right. Why do you keep saying these negative things about me? Da, da, da. Even if there's certain things that I brought up certain things just as an example. Hey, I think this might be an issue, and it might not even be a big thing, but if you're trying to prevent it from becoming a habit, and then it becomes a bigger issue because it's a habit of behavior. So, do you think it's best to kind of address it here, or see if you can let it go a little bit and then address it after it's happened a couple of times or what have you?
Okay, I was on the right path. I think addressing things immediately and being open with our feelings is the right way. That's just proper communication. And I think some of these situations won't arise like that. But maybe sometimes if you allow something to persist a little bit as kind of a learning tool for the other person, like, look how this is affecting me. Look how this is affecting me this time and this time and this time and this time. It's not good. Without patronizing, I think that can be an effective strategy. And as one of used before, well, you got to be careful with that, because you don't want to patronize, you don't want to antagonize people. You want to address things without making them sound stupid or it's their fault or something, because you care for each other. I think with that caring nature, love always triumphs in the end, and I think people really pick up on that. You can love your way through anger. I've done it before. It can be hard. It's depending on situations, but yeah, I trying to address things and communicate.
So before I answer this, SGF Graham has to get going. I would like him to say his positive information, or his positive thing. So say what you have to, SGF Graham, with your positive note.
Oh shoot, I was writing it out, but I was saying we all we got. Give each other some love. Like,
Thank
that was my
you.
positive.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
All right,
Love
now,
you, babe.
take care and love with how you did the show too, bro.
I appreciate that, man. Much respect. Much respect.
Peace.
So I want to say though, like I said about triggers, if we sit and worry about whether it's going to affect somebody, then we're not putting healthy boundaries up for ourselves. We mirror each other constantly. So we allow what we accept. And if we won't accept it from ourselves, then why would we accept it from someone else? I really want people to talk about it, regardless of how the person takes it. Because if that is not your intent, that's all you can worry about. You can't worry about how they perceive it. You can't worry about whether or not it seems like it's nitpicking or not. An unhealed mind will always feel attacked. A healed mind will protect itself from being attacked. Now remember that. You only can worry about what your intent is, how you put it out there and address it. Everything else is a feeling, and that you can't worry about somebody else's feeling. So that's just my opinion. I think we should address it as soon as it happens, because we accept. And I won't accept it for myself. I promise you I won't accept it for somebody else. And it's different when you're married, in my aspect of things, as being new in the marriage thing, not because I've been married for years. I've been in relationships long term for 9 years. As I said I do, and we did say I do, and it's known that we are. I promise you, there's one out. And I protect my peace. So I'm just letting you know that right now, because I'm willing to do this. This is my choice, and I want to do this. Respect me like that. Because if you don't love yourself, you can't love me. And if I see you sliding on you, then I know you're going to be sliding on me. So you want to be away from me, then stop loving you. And that's even in a relationship this way. not just at marriage. That's any relationship, including my own spawn. Continue loving yourself, and you'll always have me in your life. But once you stop loving yourself, I can't love you. That hurts.
I'm sorry, Kimberly. I was going to say Helix from who has been following our live the whole time on TikTok says, to be fair, most people don't learn from their own mistakes, even if you tell them about it. And yeah, that's fair. So people try and learn from those mistakes. Don't take them as signs of weakness, falling.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
But there's choices. We have choices, and what do we choose to do with it? And I'm gonna do my positive quote so that we can kill it all in one take. You know what I'm saying? So, anyways, my positive thing for the night is give yourself grace, but don't give too much grace that you're giving them rope to allow them to use that against you. Realize firsthand, self-love is important. And if they can't respect you, then they don't love themselves because they're not respecting themselves. They're signs. And you could tell whether you care about yourself or not by the company you keep. So I just want to say that. Go ahead, Jonathan.
I will give my little positive thing here. This is again, as I've grown and learned, experienced, and kind of soaked in some knowledge and some understanding of self. I realized that I can't depend on someone else to bring me peace. I have to create that for myself. I can't depend on someone else to make me happy. I can just be happy, choose to be happy with whatever's going on around me. Because I can't put that responsibility on someone else and that gives them the control. So I just ask that, and I think that everyone should ask that the person that you're with or the people that you're around, if you have a significant other, or if you're just around a great group of friends, just ask that they don't disturb the peace that you create for yourself, that they don't disrupt the happiness that you have for yourself. If they want to potentially influence and contribute to things that are going on that bring you joy, peace, and happiness, absolutely, and reciprocate that as well. But just please communicate to them that, hey, I'm trying to live in this peace and this happiness, and I'm not hurting anyone, I'm not hurting myself. Please don't disturb mine because I don't see why that would be beneficial to you or anyone else. And just communicate. It's all about communication. As long as you let them know that, let them know these are the things that kind of disturb that, disrupt this. Uh, Open communication, honest communication is the absolute key to it.
I love it.
Who's next? Who's next?
Your positive thing and how you want to wrap this up.
Was that me? Was that me or Gilly, Miss Kim?
Jewsby.
Okay. I would say you don't get to choose what happens to you, but you do get to choose how you handle it. It's up to you to make sound decisions in your life. It's up to you to hold accountability for the decisions that you've made in your life. And at some point or another, you're gonna have to be real with yourself. The truth sounds good, but you really have to believe it and apply it in order to truly understand what it is to have self-love and to be able to handle whatever it is that life throws at you. And keep your mental house clean always.
Oh yeah.
Always. Gilly. Positive quote, my love.
Positive quote. All right.
Yes.
Well, oh, sorry, because I was all ready to answer the last question now.
You can do it both.
Okay. So as far as that just totally threw me off course. What was the last question again? Oh. I'm so
You
lost.
got it.
What was that last question again? Sorry.
Okay. Do you think that it would be better to speak on whatever small issue that may or may not become a pattern, but just as long as you verbalize that to the other person that you're with or the people that you're around?
Right.
Or
Yeah,
do
no,
you
no, no.
think that
Okay,
it's
I do.
okay?
I got it.
Gotcha.
I think that addressing things in the moment is the most positive way to handle things. It's the healthiest way to handle things if you're dealing with healthy people. Or people who are at least working to have good communication. I also think that it's a work in progress, because you're going to have conflicts in values and personalities and temperaments and whatever. And so you're going to have to navigate a communication style that's unique to you guys, to whomever you're dealing with, I should say. As far as, I like a good debate too. As SGF Graham mentioned, being a debater, I love a good debate. But there is a difference between a personal attack or argument and a debate. And when it gets to personal attacks, to be real honest with me, if you're not somebody that I'm close to, if you're not somebody close in my life, I probably won't even address it anymore. It's just not. It's not proven to be very effective in my life with people who are not looking for peace. And there tends to be consequences far greater than I want to handle. And to me, if you're gonna get ready to fight, you better have the tools and the resources and the power behind you to do it. Otherwise, there can be consequences to lots of people, not just the two of you. And I'll just leave it at that. As far as my positive message, this is just my opinion, but I'll probably die on this hill. You didn't allow it. You didn't deserve it. You didn't sign up for it. The world didn't need it to happen to you. You didn't need it to happen to you. And if it did, I am so sorry. But there will be people who understand and won't blame you. And you can come forward.
I like that. That's good.
Did I say positive?
Go ahead. Positive.
I don't remember if I said positive or not.
Say a positive.
You know what? One of our viewers said it's your decision. He said it's your decision to become an adult or not. But they also said don't let anyone tell you how to be you.
That's right.
And I think that's really damn important. And I appreciate my viewers. So I'm going to leave that as my positive quote because it's really important. If I wasn't me, I'd be someone else. And that wouldn't feel right.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Thank you. You did a good job running it. And I appreciate everybody for allowing us into their home, their heart, their ears, their time. Thank you for allowing us to water you and help you with your mental health. Keep it clean.
Yes, everyone. Thank you so very much. I appreciate all of you on with us and the viewers and listeners out there in the world and the universe. Thank you. Thank you.
Peace and love. And thank you, Jews. We miss you, brother.
Peace and love. Peace and love. Good job, Jay. Miss you guys too.
Yeah, great to see John. Oh, you too. Oh my goodness.
You know it.
Yeah, this was a great
Let's
show.
get to the bottom of this one. Unspoken truths that I miss one. Tap into the minds of the people. Rather acknowledge before I dismiss one. Atheists, Muslim, Christians, Buddhists, they all got usage. All got perspective. It's a collective. Get to the bottom where the truth is. Where the heart's uncovered. Where you detox from all of the lies you smothered. When them tries to kill you. But with faith you recover. Yeah. Peel off the makeup. We finna take off. Never said it'd be a cakewalk. Meditate till we charged up. Execute goes regardless. decalcify my pineal. Breaking language barriers, we saw millennials. Planets passing age rotations, down me we owe. So down me we know. Sometimes we can be slow, that's why my ears open. Every drop you add could complete the ocean. Speak up, play your part too. Been vulnerable, it's an art tool. Reflect on all the juice like torture. It's on you, tell the truth.
Yeah, we about to have a good conversation. Yeah, let's go. We about to have a good conversation. Yeah, let's go. We about to have a good conversation. Yeah, let's go. Listen. Yeah. Aim in the fit so you see in the mirror. Play with your focus and watch it get clear. Polish your crown, turn it up if you wear it. You live in the root, release what you're fearing. And watch it all rise, the righteous will hear it. They calling us twisted, I'm not even caring. Because it's unseen, the mind is too barren. They won't even heal it, they pass it to cheering. We over here healing, conversing and listening. Know that the truth isn't always appealing, but end it with healing and find your beginning. Frequency positive, what you receiving. Perception is up to you, what you believing. What you retrieving, mentally speaking. Life that they breathing, no words from a heathen. Don't know it all, but together undefeated. Conversation, rather want it, you need it. Could fill up your tank before it's depleted. Don't care if you calling on Allah or Jesus, Buddha or Christian, not being facetious. Come to the trial with the students and teachers. All got a voice, we the ears that'll listen. We the ears that'll listen. We the ears that'll listen. Conversation, rather want it, you need it. Could fill up your tank before it's depleted. Don't care if you calling on Allah or Jesus, Buddha or Christian, not being facetious. Come to the trial with the students and teachers. All got a voice, we the ears that'll listen. We the ears that'll listen. We the ears that'll listen, hey. Yeah. We about to have a good conversation. Yeah, let's go. We about to have a good conversation. Yeah, let's go. Praying for truth cause the world is so fickle. Keeping my mental how clean as a whistle. Attention's a trap, they can lead you astray. Steering this ship through the storm and the haze. Real conversations are lost in the greed. Others get lost in the web that it weaves. Sift through the rhetoric, uncover schemes. Knowledge inherited, this is imperative. I got a lot on my mind and I'm sharing it. Apples to oranges, it ain't no comparisons. I'm the type that'll never break character. I'm the type to make memories and cherish them. Trust intuition and doubt of disparity. Pursuing the echoes of wisdom. Chasing that moment of clarity. Conversation, rather one you need it. Come fill up your tank before it's depleted. Don't care if you calling on Allah or Jesus, Buddha or Christian, not being facetious. Come to the track with the students and teachers. All got a voice, who the ears that'll listen. We the ears that'll listen. We the ears that'll listen. Conversation, rather one you need it. Come fill up your tank before it's depleted. Don't care if you calling on Allah or Jesus, Buddha or Christian, not being facetious. Come to the track with the students and teachers. All got a voice, who the ears that'll listen. Who the ears that'll listen. We the ears that'll listen.
It's on you, tell the truth.